Hello, James here, and welcome to the James Cast. And as you may know, if you've been listening to any of my other podcasts here on the James Cast, of course, a lot of this content, in fact, much of it comes from Potaholics. And what I do is add the pre-roll to it and, give it a little spin and share it on yet another platform. Hope you enjoyed. This show is Andrew Thomas and myself, Andrew Thomas, digitalnexa.com. We're talking tech, as always, and we're talking stuff that's on our minds as we're talking about this tech. In some cases, it's how fast things are moving and how fast things are changing, and how do we keep up with that? And what happens if your stuff breaks down? And what do you do? And what are your expectations? I had quite an experience. I'm going to share it. But has technology and the immediacy of it given us unreasonable expectations? Hey, give it a listen. The James Cast. It's Tech Talk with Andrew Thomas. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, dude. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
Sorry, just my AirPods have, I don't know. I mean, I want to say discharged, but discharged doesn't sound right. It sounds a bit horrible.
Just no battery life, or?
Yeah, like it's just put them on and they do green, and you put them in my ears and they were like, they make a noise. They go boop, 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 like that when you don't have any. And I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
So, sorry, that's I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway,
okay.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah. Back to school, back doing stuff. It's hectic. It's pretty busy.
What's the makeup? Is it like there or at the school?
No, it's all online at the moment.
Do they reckon they've got back?
Not this semester. There are some classes are doing some things, but there's a lot of restrictions coming into place. So if I want to bring a class on campus, we all have to get COVID tested and stuff like that. So I pretty much said, if that's the deal, I'm not bringing them on campus because I'm not going to force a bunch of students to go get COVID tested and then maybe get exposed. So I said, nah.
Yeah.
You know what?
You're going to be the most hated professor ever.
Yeah, exactly. So I just said, look, I said to my students, I said, we're doing a public speaking class. You'll have to submit your speeches as videos to me because I want to see the speech. And you just submit it to me personally. Like I'll put it into, they're not going to do it in front of the whole group. And, I'll dispose of them, whatever. But I said, it's just not going to work. We need to see you doing it. And I'm not going to bring you on campus. So we'll see. It's pretty fluid.
Yeah, I spoke to one of my buddy's daughters. She's going back to do A-levels, but they're doing, first of all, it's in class, but you stay in the class and the teachers rotate.
Right, yeah.
And then it's mixed learning. So if you want to come into school, you go to school. If you want to work from home, you do from home.
Yeah.
So they're kind of doing a kind of mixed environment. So she said, I might go home for a week or so. She said, but I'm not fussed really. I don't really need to go back to school,
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic at the moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's really just, it's odd. It's going to be very odd for a long time. So we'll see.
Well, I think the big problem as well is like the nurseries, right? There was a group of nursery owners, about 60 of them, that did an open letter to the government, basically saying that, you're opening up fucking play areas. You're opening up this. We can't survive. We've got parents that need kids to be looked after. We've got obviously people to, business to run, and it's facts, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, and I just don't get it. They're putting in all these restrictions for schools and stuff, but you can go to a restaurant, you can go to the mall, and you can go to a movie. Yeah. On that note, let's get started. Hello, welcome to Potaholics and Tech Talk with Andrew Thomas from digitalnexa.com. Myself, James Pikeway. Yeah, we got a lot of technology to talk about, and we're going to kick it off with the perils of video conferencing and what you do when it all goes wrong. Andrew Thomas, good to see you again, man.
Hello. How are you?
I'm still riding off the wave of the Digital Growth Show from last week.
Yeah, a lot of great feedback on that. That was fantastic. That was I mean, I think that's kind of a piece in history that's just going to continue to live on. So
well,
I think, yeah, it was great.
I actually wanted to propose to you guys, and I'm not propose, but that we need to do a follow-up show, because in the time that we did that show, and yesterday was going through some data, going through some stats, and interesting numbers that were being presented from podcast groups about podcasting and things to be thinking about with respect to numbers. And one of the interesting numbers that came up was and they figure that through their metrics, if you as a private podcaster, not commercialized, are getting 50 downloads of your show, 50 downloads of your show, you're in about the 50% range of other podcasters. If you're getting 70 downloads of a show, you're what, the 20% of podcasters are getting that kind of, private industry podcasters are getting that. If you're getting 100 downloads, you're now up in 5-10% range. So you're at the top of the heap, really, when they look at private podcasts, given the numbers that are out there, given the way they're distributed. Yeah. And if you're not full of advertising and getting pumped through that way. So interesting. I just thought those numbers were kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll have to do a follow-up like data metric show.
Yeah,
just trying to dig into the numbers. I mean, I think obviously that was, it was great, because I think anyone that wants to start a podcast or wants to understand it a bit better or wants to dip their toe in the water, they got a real chance to see that. But I think the one thing that kind of I took away from it was just the consistency and commitment. That's I mean, dude, you've been doing this for years, so it's kind of like, I think that's that consistency and that commitment, that's huge, right? And without that, it doesn't matter if you got the best tech or the best platform, but yeah, it's that really, people rely on it, right? As you mentioned when you said you'd switched off updating the James cast, and it kind of just dropped off a cliff after 6 months, and you had to work really hard to bring those people back and bring that trust element back, right?
Yeah. No, it's crazy, and it's funny because you do this. We both got day jobs. We do other things, and there are days I wake up, and in fact, I got a little bit backlog of some of the editing. I've got to outsource that somehow, but I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh man. It's one thing to do the podcast and then loading them, writing the descriptions, putting up the notes. It's like some days you just kind of go, I just don't feel like it. And then, you take a look, but then it's funny because I'll turn one on that I'm editing and I'll go, man, this is fun to listen to. And sometimes, as I've said this before, it's like I wasn't even in the room when we recorded the thing. I'm going, did we say that?
Yeah, it kind of rolls into one, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You forget the camera rolling, you forget the mics on, you just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it.
Hey,
nice.
the old Zoom, even at the university this semester, we are officially using Zoom. The organization has got licenses for all the faculty, and we're official Zoom people. And it's interesting because this is one of the things that a lot of folks are talking about, not necessarily with the Zoom, although they're the most recent to have experienced an outage. But when you're using the video conferencing services, whether it be Zoom, whether it be Meet, whether it be Teams or WebEx, and the list goes on, what if the darn thing goes off? What if it's not your side, but it's the system? That terrifies me, to be honest.
It was a massive outage yesterday. So we started... We use Zoom, religiously, and it started about, I think it would have been about 2:00, I think, local time in the UAE, and like when you were clicking on the link to open up the browser and then it wasn't doing it. So then for about the next 2 meetings, I was able to put in the ID. We put in the ID, and then no, that was it. Like computer says no. It was just kind of like, no, can't do it. And then we ended up jumping on Google Meet for the last couple of meetings of the day. But I don't know if everyone else was on Google Meet, but the sound was horrible. The kind of video was horrible. I don't know. It just kind of, I think if you're using Zoom, your next go-to is Google Meet, because it's free. It's there. It's, you know what I mean? As opposed to Teams. We're not on Microsoft. We're on Gmail, and obviously we haven't got anything else lined up. So the connectivity issue and relying on a big tech partner like that is tough. But we had a problem with Gmail. There was also an outage of Gmail, I think on last Thursday, where emails weren't getting delivered. And so, you kind of, but I mean, in those scenarios, there's nothing you can do.
No.
It's just kind of like.
Well, I was having a meeting yesterday, and I must have been right about the time where the Zoom issues were kicking in, because again, this person couldn't get into the meeting even with the code. So we ended up, patching through a phone so that they were on landline talking to us in the meeting, which worked really well. But we've become so reliant now so quickly on these being the go-to tools that sometimes, I remember last semester, needing to find a solution really quickly, and went to streaming on Instagram and just said to my students, okay, here's my Instagram account. I've got Instagram TV. I'm just going to do a live stream of what I want you to do. So, dial into my socials. And that worked okay. And obviously the quality you expect is what you expect. But it's almost like we're running off of these different services like Zoom with no backup. We've got no backup plan.
Yeah, well, even Amit and I, we, up until I think it was kind of the growth show on the 9th episode or something like that, his internet started to misbehave. And at that point, I realized that he had the only copy of the deck.
Nice.
So even from a practical standpoint, it was like, okay, he disappears, and I just, shoot the breeze for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a deck that we're working from. So we kind of have done that. But I mean, having said that, we don't have a backup plan for the webinar, because obviously it's a paid, again, it's another paid environment. It's on Zoom. It's all registered through the links. It's the same link each week. It's, so you are reliant on this tech to kind of get you by. But I think now more so than ever, there's actually revenue attached to it, and there's business. And as you said, I mean, it goes down, and now the whole university and faculty are using Zoom. Then what?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a screaming conversation with the IT department.
No.
And it was like a global outage yesterday.
Yeah.
It's not like, and we've been affected here because of X. No, it's a global outage. So it's no one can fix it.
I had on another note, my ongoing router issues. And I had outages again yesterday at my place, where just no signal going into the router. And it was weird, because I'm looking at the box that comes into the house from the fiber optic, and it seemed to be working. Gave a call up to Etisalat. They, did whatever they do behind the scenes, and it came back on. They actually sent a technician out at 9 o'clock at night. The guy's knocking on my door. You got router issues. And what was kind of interesting is he comes in with this tablet that he's able to get into the backside of the box coming into the house with the fiber. And I don't know what he did. He's looking at something, but he was also able to access my router. So at another point, he's looking at the back of the router. He's putting the code in, and he's looking at the router settings. And it was interesting, because I'm looking at him and I'm saying, so what's the deal? And he says, well, a whole bunch on the backside has been a lot of code. They've upgraded the systems, and in upgrading the systems, there's been a handshake periodically between different routers. And so in my case, I don't know if he has fixed it, but he said in one case, it's changing the IP on the router also can be very beneficial for the handshake. And I went, oh, really? It seems kind of weird, but he was in tapping buttons and on both the box coming into the house and the router, and he said it should work. So we'll see. But it's, again, frustrating. The only good thing is, because we like yourself, we have so much data on our phones. When the Wi-Fi went down in the house, make a hotspot with your phone and start running it that way. And it still actually works really fast now doing it that technique. So it's a lifesaver, which we wouldn't have been able to do 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's I quite like the customer support mechanism for them. They sent an email out. They reckon it was down for nearly 4 hours. It was a bug in their application layer, apparently, that's been resolved, that was kicking out the kind of web link. So I think, I mean, I quite like that. I quite like they've come out and said it was us, it's on us. We're focused on this, we're focused on that. I mean, also as a business, as we've mentioned, they've just had to scale up massively.
Yeah.
Just to cope with not only regular kind of you and I using it, but entire companies, corporations, school. The education system seems to have really gone after Zoom in a big way. I mean, I think anyways, we're cooking with gas this morning. So
imagine going back to the Zoom and Corona, 10 million users for Zoom in December, and today they're at 300 million users of Zoom. From 10 million to 300 million.
Mental, right?
Yeah.
That's some seriously rapid growth.
In any organization, I mean, you picture your own business if you went to that kind of growth. How keeping your systems working, keeping the servers working, keeping the whole, putting multiple servers in, creating, server ports in different countries. It's crazy. Here's something. Maybe I'm going to troubleshoot with you. And I've actually sent a note to the Zoom guys just asking them if there's a setting or something that I've got messed up. Is for me, periodically when I'm using Zoom, after about an hour, I need to reset, or else my audio goes all scratchy and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'm on a pro account, so it's a very weird thing. So I actually sent them a note because
there is, interestingly enough, myself and Amit do reset our kind of routers and reset our Macs before we do like the webinar show.
Yeah.
Because we found, I don't know, just like a flush. I don't even know if that's like a psychological thing, but it definitely seems to, fix it, if that makes sense.
So you actually turn on and off the router before you start as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I kind of.
Question for you does that put more strain on your router, turning it on and off? Is that okay to do that as much? Yeah, not an issue.
Yeah, I do it quite a lot. I'll do it probably at least once a day.
Really?
I think it can be a bit of a caching issue as well sometimes. So yeah, I tend to flick it on and off. You have to wait obviously about 2-3 minutes just for it to kind of reboot, but it's fine. I've been doing that for years. I mean, it kind of just keeps it. Yeah, it keeps it. You do tend to find the longer you keep it on, it tends to slow down.
And I guess that's just all.
I imagine all these packets like getting caught and jostling for position, and then when you switch off, they go like that, and then it's kind of switch it back on.
Yeah. Well, and then the other question the guy had yesterday was, well, how many routers are you running in your place? Have you got one upstairs? Have you got one downstairs? And it appears there can be some conflict between routers, and they're smarter now, so they look to find that channel that's not being used. But even when I sit at home, it's amazing with the number of Wi-Fi routers that I can pick up at my house. I mean, there's 6. I live in a villa. I have a next door neighbor, and then everyone else we're rather spread out around us. And I've got 6 people's internet that are coming up on my machine. Again, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I mean, that was always a frustrating thing. You'd be sitting there and you can pick up your neighbors 3 doors down, but you can't pick up the one sitting right next to you. What's going on? It's crazy. You should organize an arrangement with your neighbor 3 doors down, because he's probably having the same problem. Just swap passwords. I bet you take mine, I take yours.
Oh man, the other side of this, and you fired this into the notes, and this kind of cool, is with all of this stuff that's going on, and as we gear up to go back to school, and it's funny actually, because as we're gearing up to go back to school, it's like, sure, we're better at doing online teaching, better at the delivery, but in some cases, folks haven't taken any time to sort of refresh their machines, make sure their connections are good.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to a few people. I said, well, have you upped your bandwidth, have done anything so you're going to get a better connection? Nah, I'm just going to see how it goes. And I was like,
Nice.
there's a whole number of things that we need to start doing. And I wonder if Etisalat and Do here, and then, whatever country folks are listening to, phone companies, I wonder if on their side they're gearing up for more demand for online presence during peak hours in the day.
I think they have to, don't they? I mean, I think if you haven't jumped online, you definitely will now. I mean, I think for people that thought this might be a bit of a passing fad, I think people are starting to realise that you kind of it's digging in now. So you need to kind of make some of those choices, and that goes even back to the kit that you're using as well. Because if you've got an old laptop or an old iPad, you're not going to get the browser speed. You're not going to get the kind of functionality that you perhaps want to use. I mean, I didn't share it in the notes, but over the last week, there's been multiple. These are the best laptops for college. These are the best laptops for school. This is this, right? So I think there's obviously, this again is a challenge where people are having to use technology more so than ever, and they're going to make sure that they're connected right, because it's not just about the internet speed. I mean, you do need a decent Mac or tablet or laptop now, because it really impacts the speed and functionality, right?
Well, and even you need your laptop. You're going to need headphones and things. I know some folks have gone out. It's funny. I had a buddy who went out and he bought a nice gaming headset and he thought, I'm going to use this. Yeah. And he took it back. He said, actually, it wasn't as comfortable as it was made out to be. And he went back to using his pods for his Mac, and he said they're not the most comfortable in the long term, but he was getting better quality signal out of those than this gaming headphones, which were billed as being the cat's meow.
Yeah, I think you've got those kind of, a lot of people who've worked in telesales or whatever have those big cans on and kind of with the mic. I'm not used to it. I prefer the AirPods, but let's see, my AirPods have been misbehaving, but I mean,
what's that all about? I mean, I know we were talking about it off air,
but the usage on them is nuts, right? So I mean, I don't know. It's maybe a psychological thing. Last week I said I need AirPods too. So now perhaps I'm kind of creating problems with my AirPods 1 to kind of justify an investment. But that single-handedly had probably been the best investment from a especially with kind of COVID, because and I've seen that more often. I've seen a lot more people getting AirPods and things to kind of during COVID, because you can justify the expense. When you've got 6 to 8 hours a day, when you need to have that, and the new ones have noise cancellation as well, right?
Interesting.
Which can obviously help depending on where you are.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just
speaking of audio. Did you see? I put in the notes about Audible.
Yes.
They've announced this new kind of unlimited streaming. It's phenomenal. Do you use Audible or not?
You know what? I have an account, and I can't say that I'm spending a lot of time over there, but I did jump in with a free account earlier on, and I do get their updates. But I thought it was pretty impressive. They've got 11,000 original productions, audiobooks, and podcasts on Audible.
Yeah, I interestingly, so I do the $8 a month, and you get credits. You basically get a free book a month, right? So you get 1 or 2 free books a month so you're effectively guaranteed that you're going to get a new title in there. But what's interesting is I'd stored up around 10 credits. And something happened to my card and payment didn't go through, and I didn't know, and my account got cancelled. And I contacted them and said, hey, listen, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize this card, I changed the number. I didn't realize I'd associate it to this account because it's so old. And they're like, no problem. Here's a new payment link, put it in. And they gave me the 10 credits back, and then another 10 credits.
Wow.
Sorry for the inconvenience. I was like, wow. Okay. But yeah, I do like listening to the occasional book when it's things like Gary V, or some other kind of entrepreneurial space. I quite like listening to that type of book. I find it's more of that, not kind of the fiction-based stuff. I haven't tried that, or biographies and autobiographies. But I just like it something different. It just made me think because we were talking about Kindle last week.
Yeah. Did you finally get one?
No. In all honesty, I didn't, and the only reason is because I actually had an insane week. So even to the point, even though it was a long weekend, we had a video shoot going on at Nexus, so that took up the weekend as well. So yeah, I haven't. I actually want to go and see them because online trying to see the difference. I think I might have to run down to Virgin Megastore. I think those guys have a pretty good, kind of run, like a pretty good look at them. But I don't know if that works because I haven't been to a electrical shop since, so I don't even know if you can go and touch them anymore. I don't know how it works.
I was in Etisalat just weeks ago, and they still had all their phones out and that stuff. I don't know how it works for the sanitizing them after. It seems to me there was someone walking around that had a cloth who was constantly wiping everything down. So it opens up a whole other question, doesn't it, when you want to get your hands on the boxes and look at stuff, and the last thing they want you is handling everything.
Yeah, well, famously, I mean, I don't know if you ever go to some of these shops, down in Dira and Vertibuy and the mobile phone shops, and what they do is they cut the cellophane with a Stanley knife, and then they open up. They don't have any sample products. You end up handling the product, and now I wonder what they do with that, because obviously, they're trying to be cautious, but I think I haven't had a chance, but it got me thinking again. There's definitely, from an e-commerce perspective, there's still a case where I want to go out, but I haven't been able to, and kind of look at it. But I will do. I will get out and try and take a look this week, although we're already on Tuesday. So.
Well, the other side of that getting out is the gaming side of everything, and you've got a great link in there that there are a lot of folks who are got turned on to games because they're at home, they need some downtime, you need a break, your computer's out there, you got a nice machine, you don't want to do any more Zooms, you just need some get away from things. And as this one article is talking about that you put up here, one of the issues that we're starting to run into is some of the controllers for these games. So this particular one is Microsoft Flight Simulator, and great game, uses a flight stick. You can't find them right now.
No, I mean you got to. I don't know if this is. I mean, there's obviously a new flight simulator out that's coming out, and that's going to see a bit of a rush. But you got to believe that these guys, pilots that haven't been able to fly for best part of 5 months. I mean, that's their whole life. A lot of these guys, right? A lot of these guys are a pretty impressive flight sim setup, and I'm wondering if to try and keep their kind of mind busy, they're kind of out there doing the flight sim. But it's the new flight simulator is pretty cool. You can actually fly over your house and everything. It's pretty nuts. It's mapped like. The amount of data on it is insane. Yeah. When I was trying to think back, last time I played Flight Simulator, it was on Windows, I think, like Windows 95.
Wow.
Kind of one of those that, and I hadn't obviously seen a joystick for years, because if you remember when we were young gaming, it was kind of through joystick. There wasn't really like a joy pad. I mean, everything now is controllers.
I remember the Atari. The Atari had a really nice little stick with that little red button on the base.
Joystick, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with one button. And funny enough, we found my old Nintendo last weekend, and my son was like, "Dad, why is there only 2 buttons?" And I was like, "Well, that's what it was." And he's like, "Well, how do you fire and jump and do this?" And I was like, "You just do this." And he couldn't comprehend, because obviously, he's got a PlayStation with 9 buttons on it. So it's quite funny to kind of hear him try and work out. Well, hold on a minute, how do you do this? How do you jump and like collect ammo and? I was like, I don't know. You just did. You jumped and shot. That was pretty much your choice.
I still remember the first game thing we got, and it basically just had Pong on it, and we had this big console to play Pong, and it was just and it was I'm sure we were using a black and white TV then. It just came up black and white.
Yeah.
Crazy days. Hey, here's an interesting one. I use an app when I go on and I go between an app called so MMHMM is this app. And what it does is it is a presentation app, and it gives you your backgrounds, it gives you an opportunity to put your slide decks in and stuff, and it just it offers you the opportunity to move yourself around and to sort of make better use of the space when you're doing a video or presenting or a webinar. And one of the features that they have, MMHMM.
That's the weirdest name ever.
MMHMM. Look it up online. You can get in on a beta, and I highly recommend it. And what's kind of interesting is, so I can open up that app, I can turn on a broadcast tab, and then it'll come into then I just pick the camera on Zoom, and it pulls the feed from there into my Zoom feed and gives me all the interactivity of Zoom, but it's using that app as where the camera's coming from.
Okay. So I'll give it a go. I've never heard about it.
Yeah, it's kind of about it. I think I heard about it on Instagram, and then I went and took a look, and it said, we're not open yet, but we're going to let in some beta folks. And they've been letting beta people in now, over the last month. I think they let in 1,000 at a time, and they just, it's not a long wait, and it's fun to try. It's I think for teaching and interactiveness, if you actually want people to interact with it, I'm not so sure that's the tool I want to use, simply because I jump between a whiteboard thing. But if I was doing a webinar, or I'm just doing a talk, or you're doing your morning show, or it works really well, especially because it's almost like you can get the screen like we've got now, and then when you're doing that whole superimpose the information behind you, you can do that. And you can make yourself you can disappear, you can come back, you can make it full screen. Nice. So, and it's much like when you're using Zoom, it offers you a bar on the bottom, so you can have all your slide decks in there, and the slides just come up behind you, and you've got opportunity to do some manipulation with that as well. So it's kind of cool. But the reason how this segues into the Microsoft Flight Simulator controller is you can also use a game controller to do everything with MMHMM. So if you want to advance stuff, if you want to move yourself around on the screen, it's all connected through it uses all the controller buttons.
Crazy, isn't it? They're saying that the new, how that's impacting it, just a real tenuous link, but they're building, there's a new tank that's being built, I think, in Russia. Tank. And the controller is going to be a game control to control the tank, like a gamepad, to kind of allow you to move around. But I've just signed up for that. But apparently I've got to wait. I'm not as exclusive as you, Mr. Pipeway. So
let me know what you think. Yeah, let me know what you think. And I was using it yesterday in a class, and I went between it. So I was using it for part of it, and then I wanted to do something else. So I just, switched my camera back to my computer. It's sitting in the background. It was great. It's really, I really like it.
Interestingly, it's saying it's only on Mac as well.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah. So not for the folks over at PC yet.
No, that's unfortunate. Staying with games, Rubik's Cube. Now here's something I didn't realize. With Rubik's Cube trivia, I didn't realize, and obviously we totally date ourselves when we start talking about Rubik's Cubes, because I can remember when those things came out, but the patent expired on them. And so they've redone things, but that's about the time where you start seeing a lot of copycats of Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah.
But what I was looking at was they had some folks last year who created an electronic or an app tracked Rubik's Cube that literally would track all the moves and the speed with which you were doing things, so you could have follow through.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? How do you techify, an old classic like Rubik's Cube? I guess you can techify it through an app, and you can track, as you said, it's fast how things you go through. I mean, this is pretty cool, isn't it? To see how they've done that and taken that traditional model. I mean, I think one of the things COVID has done is kind of re-energize board games and other kind of normal games, right? Because people want to get away from the screen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought it was interesting because GoCube was a licensed product from Rubik's Cube, and then Rubik's Cube itself has created its own app based cube so that you can, and their big thing is, well, that you can track your moves. You can now compete against people virtually because they've got the machine doing stuff. And I just thought, the thing's not cheap. It's coming in at about $40, but $50 for the app enabled Rubik's Cube. But they actually, but what all really caught my attention was the Red Bull Rubik's Cube World Cup that I didn't know existed.
And there's something for everyone, right? You'll be able to win a trophy somewhere if you work hard enough.
But so Rubik's Cube must be an extreme game because Red Bull's sponsoring it.
Really?
Yes, it's the Red Bull Rubik's Cube World Cup.
That's got to be someone in Red Bull that is kind of harping onto their childhood, I think. Has to be, right?
It's like, what's the extremeness? It's like...
Yeah, fingers. It's kind of extreme movement, I guess. Super fast.
Yeah.
That makes me want to go and get a Rubik's Cube. I haven't played with Rubik's Cube for years.
Hey, here's a good one for you. Who invented the mouse?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good Trivial Pursuit question, right?
Yeah. Well, the first side of it is...
Who was it?
He recently died at 91 years old. Gentleman named William English invented the mouse in 1968.
68?
No, really?
Yep. He orchestrated an elaborate demonstration of the technology that foretold the computer, tablet, and smartphones world's connection with the mouse. He showed a version in 1968. And he basically this all started in the 50s after he left the Navy, and he joined the Northern California Research Lab called the Stanford Research Institute, where he was using a mainframe and he was showing how this thing could work.
When was the first time you used a mouse? Can you remember?
I'm thinking. It probably was with the first. It was probably you. It's probably around 1990. I'm thinking 90.
I'm thinking it must have been around that time with me at school. So
yeah.
I still remember being in my bedroom and unscrewing the mouse, taking out the ball, and cleaning the rollers because obviously they used to get dust in there and having to do that and people must be looking at us now thinking we're crazy or listening to us, but that used to be a thing. You used to have to kind of take the mouse ball out and kind of clean the rollers in there because it was a pain to kind of it lost it over time. And obviously I guess the infrared mouse came in where, because you needed a flat surface as well. You couldn't do it like, you couldn't sit here and now I've got like a pad here, for my laptop rest on my lap, and you wouldn't be able to do that in the past. You'd have to find like a, mouse mat and things like that, right?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it, because then, it was more like a touchpad that he was using in the early stages, and then we got into the rolling mouse, and now we're back to trackpads and things. It's funny that it took so long for it to become really mainstay in all of the different products that we use.
Yeah, I don't ever use a mouse now. It's trackpad. When I jumped over to Mac, it's just trackpad. I don't know. I was watching actually you last week when you were very kindly editing the Growth Show podcast, which is going to go up, and I've got to get it across to Podaholics. And I was fascinated how you were using the trackpad to open and squeeze, audio files. And I was just like, wow, okay. And I realized at that point that my trackpad skills are very archaic. It's kind of like...
Well, I remember that because
I'm clearly not using it to the best ability. It's kind of I'm not using it properly.
I remember that I was expanding the field, and you're going, hold on, what are you doing? What are you doing with your fingers? I said, well, you just use the trackpad, and you can. It becomes so intuitive. The problem is, so I do have a mouse, and I'm not quite sure when I ever use it, but I do have it hooked up, and it's a total different set of mechanisms for your brain and hand coordination. And whereas I know folks who are doing graphic design where they couldn't live without their mouse. The idea of using the trackpad on the computer is no, I couldn't do that. And they're just really fast with it. My son,
I used to get pretty cramped back in the day, but I don't find I get that with trackpad.
Yeah, I don't know. And now these mice are so ergonomic, and they've got speed balls on them, and oh man, it's just crazy.
I had no clue that it was that old. Honestly, I thought it was a Windows thing because I remember. Well, I mean, before that, it was obviously Mac. I mean, I'm actually. Do you know what? It may have been earlier because I remember my dad bringing home an Apple Macintosh, and the Apple Macintosh had the mouse with the one click. Yeah. So actually, I think it was before 90. It may have been late 80s. Whenever that Macintosh, the Apple Macintosh was out, that was probably the first time I saw a mouse. Because then obviously, Bill Gates got inspired by that, and then kind of launched the Windows, and then the rest is history, right?
Hey, are you using the new Windows browser at all? Do you get in on that one? The Edge, Microsoft Edge. Do you ever use it?
I think it's not available on the Mac, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't. I might use it then.
Yeah, download it and give it a look. It's funny because I often don't use it, but every time I do use it, it's fast and just very easy. But I think I've just been pulled into, as we've talked a lot about, the old Google world.
Download from Mac OS. Well done. No, I didn't. I mean, I guess I'm a Chrome guy.
Yeah.
Just because everything is in Chrome.
Right.
And the only time I tend to jump out is if I want to test a website that I need caching, like no caching.
Yeah.
And then I go into Safari for a client, and that's about it. Everything is linked to Chrome. I'm logged into Chrome. Even when we jumped over to Gmail, it was a real pain because everything was linked to my old Gmail account. So it took a good week for everything to settle down. But everything is linked. I mean, I don't really want to jinx this if I talk about it, but I think I'd go into meltdown if Chrome crashed because I have no clue about my passwords on anything. But I'll give Edge a go. I used to love Internet Explorer back in the day, and it's pretty much dead now, right?
Yeah. I think Edge has really displaced that, if they haven't turned it off. What I think, and I've had Edge on my computer for a while. I am pretty sure the first time that I booted it up, it asked me if I wanted to load in all of my Chrome connections into it. I think it wanted to do that, and it connects nicely up when I use all my Google stuff. So, yeah. It's not bad.
So I imagine you can get it for the phone as well then.
You know what? That I haven't tried.
I imagine you get it iOS as well. I mean, I think, I don't know. I mean, in all honesty, if ain't broke, don't fix it kind of stuff. And I'm kind of good with Chrome, but I wouldn't mind quite kind of testing it because obviously back in the day it was the go-to browser, right?
Yeah.
That was the one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because on this show, I'm not so sure we sort of talk around Microsoft quite a bit. And I remember on some of the shows, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and we were always talking about, Microsoft kind of being stealthy in the background. They're still there. The number of PCs in people's offices, the number of people using Word and Excel and all of these Microsoft products. And I still think it's the same. We're using Macintosh things and we're in our Chrome world, but I think the Microsoft, giant is still just sort of standing back there, and we're using those products without even actually realizing it.
We're on LinkedIn every day. That's their product. They have LinkedIn. I mean, they people don't realize, but Microsoft own LinkedIn. You've got obviously Xbox and the whole gaming piece associated to Microsoft. You now got Surface Books, that are out there. So I saw the new, just to jump to Apple, I saw the new keyboard in the wild. on Friday.
And
so a buddy of mine's got it, and I was like, "Is that 1,100 dirham keyboard?" And he was like, "Yes." I was like, "Okay, so tell me, like, genuinely." He goes, "It is phenomenal. Like,
really?
It is, with the iPad Pro, and he said it feels amazing. It's obviously got a nice case and stuff. I think just from a practical standpoint, though, it just goes back to, I'm on this kind of soft cushion kind of pad. You wouldn't be able to have your iPad on here now, right? Because it would so with the lever arch and everything. So I guess it goes back to what do you want to use it for and how do you want to use it? But Microsoft, as much as it's a sleeping giant, it's still out there and kind of, being innovative on a daily basis. I think for them, the most frustrating thing at the moment is everyone is, moving over to Zoom and not using Teams.
I gotta say, I know my wife's school, they use Teams and stuff. We never, at the university, I'm not sure why we never use Teams, because we use all sorts of other Microsoft products. But this has got to be, one of those big issues in the corporate office is, well, why have we not, been up there near the top of people's wish list of video conferencing webinar software?
Yeah,
it's kind of odd.
Yeah. Before we head out here, this isn't really tech, but it's big news in my world, and I think probably your world. But KFC have decided to suspend their 64-year-old logo, finger looking good, globally. So they're not going to be 64 years. They've been using that slogan, finger licking good, and they've decided that with COVID, it's probably not the best marketing standpoint. So I just wanted to say that
on that note,
kind of head it out.
Wow, that's really nice. How can they not? That's KFC though. Finger licking good. It's like
yeah, I know. I guess. I mean, look, you're still licking your fingers when you kind of eat some food. I mean, you'd hope that you'd wash your hands a bit more and everything, but I don't know. I guess it's one of those things that it's not in their communications anymore. So interesting. Interesting. How it's crazy sometimes. I'm almost coming across on a daily basis how COVID is impacting, various industries and various communication, and this is just another one. And obviously, the kernel is very close to my heart. So.
Andrew Thomas, digitalnexa.com. I'm James Pikeway. Podaholics is what you're listening to. This is Tech Talk. You want to get in touch with us? Very simple. Podaholics with a K at gmail.com. Find us on the web, www.podaholics and .com there, of course. And of course, find us with all our socials, Podaholics with a K. We're going to do it again real soon. Andrew, it's been great. Talk to you.
Yeah.